Well, at 6 o'clock, I'll call this workshop meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. I'll be filling in for Mayor Bertzel, who's dealing with some health issues. Okay, first item, or the next item on the agenda is public comment. There is none been registered that I'm aware of. Is there anyone here that would like to make a public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on with the nuisance update. So whoever would like to go first.
It'll be a team event, I think.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Just wanted to give you some statistics from the citywide cleanup. We had over 525 gate entrances. That's pretty significant. The revenues from the chamber sticker sales accumulated to $1,333, and that would have been for the tires, TVs, and computers. Collector fees and some of the costs that we're going to have, like for the dumpsters and things of that nature, those haven't been received yet, but once we get those billed out, I can bring some more information here in the near future. But it was a lot of people, obviously, so that's a big chunk of our population, which is great. I think we had over 30 notices. As you guys drive around town, the grass is growing like crazy, but it's also growing due to all the wet weather that we had last week. So we actually didn't go out last week to start the notices. We started that today. That way we gave people and residents an opportunity to get out and mow as they could. Unfortunately, we obviously have those that haven't mowed yet. But anyway, they will be getting a nice notice here the next couple days. Chief Morris and I had a conference call with the firm that handles the maintenance of the Sherwood Apartments to sincerely express our concerns about nuisance issues up there. We also, however, did observe that they have started to replace windows, doors, and have painted a couple of structures up there. So they are trying to make some improvements, but to me it kind of gets nullified a little bit when we have junk and debris and garbage and long grass and weeds. So we're going to continue to stay on these folks and try to work with them, but we need them to help us help them, obviously. So there's quite a few things that they need to be getting done there that they're missing. Also have some deadlines for some pending notices coming up, and then I got some court coming up in the near future on some previous notices that have been sent out. I do believe is there a delay with the courts? Is that what we heard here today?
Yeah, they're being continued out for now until, because the magistrate took the job as the county attorney, so she doesn't want there to be any conflict in that area. So she is, for the foreseeable future, she continued them out. Now I think we'll get somebody else sooner than later, but until that happens, kind of a standstill. But hopefully in a couple weeks, maybe.
This grass mowing business, I would assume we put it in the paper that I stopped at where a guy was mowing today, mowing into the street. I said, hey, can't do it. Well, you know, this place down here, I said, you know, buddy, all you got to worry about are you. I'll worry about that, you know, the rest of them. But it's an Iowa law, correct?
I think.
Well, I think it is.
City law.
It's definitely a city
Huh?
ordinance. It's a city ordinance for sure, and I wouldn't be
Right.
surprised
And
if
I
it
think
isn't.
anytime you read that, the book, you know, it'll say Iowa something or other underneath there, if I'm not mistaken, that you are not supposed to be mowing into the street. I
Right.
don't know what the hell, people can't understand that. But,
And we have stopped to talk to several.
Yeah.
I talked to one last week, and you know, the answer we always get is we mow it out there, but then I go back and make a pass to push it back in, only because we saw them, I'm sure.
well, this guy happened to go back with a blower
Yeah.
and did, actually, I didn't expect him to do that after I was so nice to him, but.
Other than that, he talked about Sherwood Apartments and then the court being continued out. We had 2 court cases this week. They got continued to May 28th, so hopefully we have somebody in place by then. Several nuisance notices went out this week and last week. Doug and I went and made our rounds on Friday, I think, or Thursday.
Thursday.
And identified 5 more properties that the guys need to work on, and then we were out to get today again in the northeast, working that section, so.
And staff's done some of the cleanups from some of the court orders we've had, and those, we did billing for, a lot of them, here last week. So those people will be getting their bills. If they don't pay those, it'll be assessed to their taxes.
I think you guys are doing a heck of a good job. I called Mark this morning on 2 things. He was a step ahead of me. Already got her done, Bill.
Anything else, council? Questions? Okay, thank you very much, Doug and Mark.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the Hampton Dumont Community School District request for use of parks for a summertime lunch distribution program. I think Kathy, is it Zobrist, is here
Yep,
from,
thank you.
from the school. Welcome.
Thank you for allowing me to come and talk to you this evening. I'm the Child Nutrition Director for the Hampton Dumont School District. And each summer for the past several years, the district has offered a summer meals program for children where free meals are provided to any children who come aged 1 to 18 years. The summer food program is something that is sponsored by the U.S. Department of Agriculture and is administered through the state education agency. And in the past couple of years, we have operated out of our high school site to provide the meals. The reason that I'm coming to you is that after having gone through that for a couple of years and having some conversations with my state consultant, we realized that our numbers at that location or our participation isn't high enough to continue to justify using that as our site. And so in taking a look at what other towns, cities in Iowa do, where they have a successful program, where their numbers are higher, what they do is they're bringing their meals to different locations where children come for enrichment activities, physical activities. And so this summer we'd like to plan our program kind of modeling after that. I've already, well, let me back up. Our summer meals program, we are looking at offering that beginning June 3rd and going through the end of July. I've already secured commitments from the folks at the City Library and then also at the Lalouse Cultural Center to allow us to come on site to each of those 1 day a week during that 2-month period. And so I'm coming to this group to ask for permission to use like our city band shell park or Progress Park by the swimming pool for the remaining 3 days of the week to provide the meals. What that entails is that the Child Nutrition Department for the school district would prepare the food from our central kitchen, which would be the high school, and we would transport it to each of the different, they're called mobile sites. We would, bring all of the food, bring all of the equipment that we need to set up to serve the meals, take care of the cleanup after we're done. We're just simply wanting a location that is going to be accessible to families, to children in our community. And then we're also looking at other partners in the community, like the Extension Office, for example, to also be able to come in and do some enrichment activities when we use the park areas. So, do you have any questions, or what questions do you have?
Well, one question I had,
Yes.
have you considered, the Peace Plaza?
You know,
I'm not sure the good accessibility with the parking situation
yeah,
and so forth.
I did take a look at that, and I wondered about the parking too. And I'll be honest, I am not from Hampton, so I'm not as
Sure.
familiar with, what some of the different options are. But when I drove by there and kind of walked around too, it looked like maybe parking might be a little bit more of an issue than some of the other sites. But
Any
if
questions,
if there are other
council?
feelings or if it can direct me to, some other thoughts.
Set up like in Progress Park or Bandshell Park, what do you do in case of rain then?
Good question. What we would do, we would still set up, but we would, instead of having the meals served and eaten on site, we would package them in something that could be taken to go. So kind of a drive-up sort of a thing.
Progress Park and the band shell have one portable outhouse. Is that gonna be enough to handle whatever the group is gonna be?
Sure. Well, we're hoping to consistently average 50 to 75 children. I guess if I use my experience from using the high school as our serving site, very few folks use the restrooms there. So I honestly, I don't know how that might
What about-
increase.
What about washing your hands?
Sure. We will take care of providing hand sanitizer at our meal sites. Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's, not the best substitute for hand washing. Hand washing is always preferable, but it is the next best thing. Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, I think this is something we'll put on the agenda to officially vote on that on Thursday, or what?
Yeah, unless you want to just,
I would say so.
yeah, we can do that.
I think it's gonna be a good addition to having more visibility. Have
I
more-
really
more
hope
kids
so.
involved.
I really hope so. Absolutely. I'm also in the process of applying for a grant to further support our summer meals program. And we're looking at some options to be able to utilize some of the public transportation options to be able to pay for kids to be transported to our meal sites too, if that is a barrier for some of them. In our school district, we have almost 60% of our kids get free and reduced meals. And so when school ends, for some of them, food insecurity is a real issue. And the summer food program, we provide lunches and then also a grab-and-go breakfast for the kids to take to consume the following day. It's one way to help ensure that those kids have some food that is healthy, nutritious for many of the weeks over the summer break.
With the street, First Street Northwest by the pool, there's a crosswalk, and
Okay.
Highway 3, do you think we're gonna need a crosswalk warning thing in the middle of the highway, or for safety? Is that something you should look at?
I honestly would defer to the expertise and judgment of
What do you think,
the-
Mark?
They used to have one by the library crosswalk, and I think it got stolen.
Kathy,
Yeah, but,
how many,
Um,
what percentage of the children are driven and a car brings them versus them walking?
Okay, so just using my experience and numbers from the last 2 years, and again, the numbers were not as high as we really needed to see them be, but on our busier days where we maybe had 50 kids, I would say, golly, maybe a third of them were driven. The parking spaces that they used, they all parked in front of the high school there to the south of the main entrance, and there were still parking spots left over. The hope in using some of the sites downtown is that we can maybe capture a few more families, kids within walking distance.
Is there any way maybe we can get some feedback from the students and the family if they have some interest of maybe getting like a hand wash station, like those portable outhouse companies do have those, and maybe
Yeah.
we can see about getting donations or something to help.
Yeah,
that.
actually, I did just jot a note down about that as well, that I can include that too in the grant proposal that I'm putting together. Yep,
Okay.
I think
Thank
that's an
you.
excellent idea.
And perhaps one option, if there's a concern with the safety, which I think there should be, maybe Mark, maybe during that time, you could possibly have an officer down there to help with the kids crossing, if that would be something to look at.
That the actual meal service would be 1:30, or not 1:30, 11:30 to 12:15. So we would set up about half an hour before that, and then take down and clean up for about half an hour after we're done serving. So it's a 45-minute period.
The school wouldn't probably want to, offer to have a crossing guard, because that's this, I don't know what the school budget.
Yeah.
I mean, they do that now with school, but again, that's a little different.
Sure,
for students.
sure. The a crossing guard. Well, let me back up. All of the expenses for anything related to our summer food project or program come out of the SFSP fund through child nutrition. We can certainly request to use grant funds for paying for volunteers who could help us. But other than that, I don't know that we'd have the resources to be able to pay somebody to do
I mean,
it.
just a thought, sort
Yep.
of brainstorming
Absolutely.
here a little bit, so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions?
But the idea of signage too, if it would help, I could take a look at putting in my grant proposal to have, a tent sign or two that could be put out in some of those streets crossings that are a little bit more of a concern, just to draw attention to it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from council, or Kathy, do you have any other comments to make?
Well, I think I covered it. Thank you.
Okay, because I think just it appears that we have consensus, but we'll just put it on our agenda to officially vote on that on Thursday's meeting
Okay.
then. And
Alrighty.
we'll let you know.
Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is reviewing the mobile food vendor ordinance draft.
Before we move forward,
Oh, sure, go ahead.
so if that sign got mowed down by a semi, have you put it back?
We had a couple of them. We tried putting them, they're plastic and,
I
tent
remember
types.
that.
And traffic would just hit them and run over them, and we couldn't afford to just keep replacing them.
Right.
It's just, there's too much traffic, and so we just gave up on it.
You said we thought about a permanent sign?
Well, this
This
we
was in the
put
middle
right
of
in
the
the middle of
road.
the road. Right in the middle of the road.
Right, but what about a sign on the side of the road?
Yeah, I'm not sure what signage we have there now, or if we could, pardon?
Crosswalk sign now.
Walk sign? Okay.
Yeah, it's just not in the middle of the road. I think
Yeah,
we had these
on a post.
nice ones that were permanently affixed to the center line of the crosswalks. You've probably seen them in other communities. We thought we would do the same thing, but with 4 lanes, it just kept getting rolled over by semis over and over.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay. Okay, the mobile food vendor ordinance draft. I think we have discussed in the past two issues related to that, like the noise and noise control. And I think at the back page of the handout, there's some options to deal with that. And one option then too, I think, would be consider a separate ordinance to deal with the noise issues and not have it as just a part of the mobile food. I just wanted to make that comment. So I guess we're open for discussion on that. Ron, do you have anything you want
Well,
to say?
In this draft, you'll see I did address the comments at the last workshop on page 3, the third page. Number 5, the mobile food unit must be located on paved or rock surface. We talked about, what about grass? So that will be eliminated in the final draft. And then number 8, brought up that the vendor shall remove all receptacles, trash, and trash bags after business hours, so that's got included as well. So those two changes were made that would be included in the final draft. I think those were the two more specific ones, and then, we discussed potential noise ordinance. So, like Jim said, might be a good idea to just, if you want to do a noise ordinance, we just do a separate noise ordinance, and it can be applicable to any noise complaints that there are, whether it is a generator from a food truck, or a party in a house too loud, or, any type of other loud noise. We would have that, and I handed out a couple of drafts, or not drafts, copies of ordinances, one from the city of Marion and one from the city of Mason City. City of Marion is it's real brief, it's just 4 pages long, pretty simple, and then the decibel levels, it has a residential 7 AM to 10 PM, 60 decibel levels, commercial district 65, industrial district 75. But not that we're going to go over these, but just a summary. And then the Mason City one has things about it that we think, if you want to give us direction to draft a noise ordinance that includes decibel levels, then we think we would use these as a basis and kind of do a hybrid of the good things about each of these. So.
Discussion.
But I think.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I guess I'd just say one more thing. If the council wants to pursue a noise ordinance with decibel meters and controls, then we put that on the next workshop agenda, and then we'll have a draft for you to look at.
I'd like to see that done. We've talked about, how expensive are them decibel readers? Do either one of you two know back there?
You can get them, you can download an app on your phone, you can get one that's $19, and then they're all the way up to $1,400. So, like, the ordinances both say type 2 meters, and I've reached out to Mason City today, to Chief Brinkley, just to get an idea of what they're using and how much they're spending and what exactly brand they have.
Well, I think that would be more teeth to put into the noise ordinance. I'd like to see us have one, because that's the biggest complaint I get on the food trucks, is the noise.
Well, in the past, we've had it with some of the bars at late night,
Exactly.
but our zoning's kind of taking care of that. But when they get the food permit, are you going to notify them of our noise ordinance, or?
Yeah, when it's in place, yeah.
Okay.
And then also, I think it's the Mesa City one has exceptions in it for like fairgrounds, fireworks, concerts at the fair, school events where there's, a track meet with announcers and things like that. Sometimes that can get kind of loud to the adjacent residential, but, so there's some exceptions to put in as well.
The Aquatic Center.
Yeah, street equipment,
Maybe.
street sweepers loud, it accepts out street equipment, so.
I'd like to see it done at a workshop meeting then, personally. That's my opinion only.
Yeah, I think we need to get working on that right away.
Yeah.
And I
My
think
thought
if we,
was to take care of a generator noise, if you can't plug in, you can't use your generator. You gotta use Ban Shell Park and plug in. That's far enough away from residential areas. We've provided the electricity there. They can plug in there, instead of plugging in at the parking lot down the road.
Right. Well, I also agree with that.
I think that would take care of a generator noise.
I think it's gonna deter people because of the businesses that park there during the day,
Okay, I don't get what you mean.
So, like the food truck wants to sit there at noon, people want to park there at noon. So,
Oh, you're talking about
Yeah,
Ban
take
Shell
a
Park.
parking spot, in
yeah,
other words.
yeah. And then I'd just soon have them pay for the electricity instead of get it free.
Yeah.
That's part of their cost of doing business, so why should we give it to them for free?
Well, then we also talked about if you have to use a generator, you gotta be so far from residential properties so that that noise isn't a bother. And so how far do we want that to be? Are we gonna include all that?
Well, there are apartments across from Ban Shell Park.
And I know that Bill isn't here, but I know the chamber is talking about possibly getting electric on the other side, all the way around.
Now, if that was the only place where they could park, let's say they could park on the east side by the library. I don't think a generator would be much, there wouldn't be as much a nuisance there as,
I agree,
I mean, there's,
because it's so far away from
Right,
residential,
right.
so we need to determine that. How far away from residential property do you have to be to use a generator?
If you limit food trucks in Hampton to only use Van Shell Park unless they can plug in somewhere, that's a substantial limitation on food trucks in Hampton. I mean, it's substantial, but
Yeah, because you have the people that go out to,
Such as, where?
well, I know he's not here anymore, but the one that used to be out at the
holy smoke.
Holy Smoke, and then the one that's down there, they said that they've got that eliminated because they plug in down there.
Exactly. They're
So,
not using their generator anymore. They're
so there's
plugging in.
potential of
They
ones
were.
that come in.
And that was the complaint,
Yeah,
too much noise by the residential property
but they
owners.
aren't using the generator anymore?
They're plugging in now.
well,
Summer they're.
that will be covered by the noise ordinance. They'll just have to move to a different spot.
Any further discussion on the ordinance in front of us?
I have no problem with it, the way it's wrote.
I'm good with it with the exception of noise. So do we want to tackle that completely separately? Do we want to put something in here about the food trucks and noise?
I'd say let's
Be
do it
separate,
separately, that
yeah.
way you could cover, a bar or whatever. Or if I have a rock band in my yard, or,
Again,
again,
I like the idea of having a separate ordinance just to cover all
Yeah.
situations as opposed to maybe just a specific truck. And then if they have other issues, but again, having a general ordinance, I think covering everything, I think for me is the way to go.
So do you want the first reading of this for Thursday?
Yeah, I think.
I'd say
I think
that.
so.
The
The food
food truck,
Yeah, food truck, yeah,
Yeah.
not the noise one.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's,
and I think, did you say Patrick said he was in favor of,
It was okay.
okay.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? We'll put that on the agenda for the first reading on Thursday then.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is an update on the 4-6 First Street Northwest property, and who gets to do that?
Yeah, Doug, do you want to come up? Basically, still waiting for Veenstra and Kim to supply a engineering service agreement proposal, so I don't have any update on that yet. Doug, do you want to address the
Who is proposing that?
Veenstra and Kim?
Oh, okay.
Yes, so right now, we know we have some water leaking into the neighbors from the single-story roof that we've all kind of talked about. And we've got a game plan to try to control that and temporarily get that closed off by putting basically some steel on the alley side of the wall, as well as then we're gonna run it down for the first 12 or 14 feet on that flat roof, where we know that the water's leaking in. And hopefully we can deter that temporarily, knowing we're going to more than likely demo that at some point. Right now, we're waiting for Mid-American to disconnect the gas line so we can cut a couple gas lines that are running up the side of the building. And as soon as they get that done, we have the materials and staff will be ready to go to try to get that assembled and get that taken care of as quickly as we can.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And the final item on the agenda then is to review the Public Works Street Department foreman job description and wage differential. Ron, would you
Yeah.
like to address that or start out addressing that,
Yeah, so the
please?
job description, we talked about this at a previous meeting where we'd like to have a street foreman to basically direct the work. Doug, determines work that has to be done, but then sometimes there's a need for it to have a foreman to direct who's gonna do what on this particular day. So Doug, do you want to expand on that?
Basically, it's scheduling. It'd be the primary benefit to that, which on a day-to-day basis, it's hard for me to be right there every morning because there's a lot of days I got meetings right away at 8:30, 9 o'clock. The other thing they do is they'll call in they'll call in, order and buy materials. They'll call and order cement or different things of that nature, and sometimes that takes scheduling. And it's just some of the same stuff that the previous person that was a superintendent was doing some of that, but this isn't really, in our opinion, of a superintendent type position, more so foreman. So that's what we're requesting that for, and we really think it'd be a benefit and help us be a little bit more efficient in operations. Because it is a lot of extra work for a person.
And then with that, you're giving them more responsibilities, so we're looking at like a $2,000 step increase for whoever's in that position. So that would, I would suggest if the council's still in favor of that, we put it on a council agenda to approve the job description and the corresponding wage.
So this is similar to the superintendent's job?
Similar, but not quite to that extent.
Is this going to be offered on skill and ability? Or
Yeah, I think Ron and I'll
or
decide
is
who
it
the...
offered on seniority?
No, skill and ability,
So you'll just promote within?
yes. It's not a new position.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it'll be a union job.
It won't be part of the union contract.
Any other questions or comments? I think it makes sense to me, to take some of the burden off of you because, I don't know how you can go in so many directions as you do.
Thank
So
you.
I think it's a good move, in my opinion, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I don't think there's any other business before us this evening, so we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Ron, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Good job, Jim.
Want a beer with me?